Hey, so one other thought. Um, I've been trying to, how do I say it, put together, I don't know, gain clarity. Let's not gain clarity on it. I'm trying to put together a massive project. Well, that project might be a little too big for right now, um, but it's worthwhile and it might not be too big if approached strategically. Um, in the process of that, I've come up with a couple of other, it's called Bridges, Regrow America. Now, it's, I say massive because it touches about, I don't know, eight different parts of the world, America really, but from small scale to really what's planned for long term. It's a big project, and it talks about taking some of the land that's just been brutalized and kind of beat to crap, and helping to heal that by using government grants and subsidies and whatnot to pay for right now farmers are getting paid to just fallow their lands and whatnot a lot of the times, and what they do produce is just it's so underpaid that it doesn't really make it worth their while. So the bang for your buck is really pretty terrible. And California is it's one of the hugest producers of I don't know most of the things, several crops worldwide, and a lot of the land is just no longer usable in the Central Valley. And I really the plan was, hey, put it all let's put some of this money instead of putting it towards just following the fields, let's put it towards repurposing those fields and you know, essentially chopping a bunch of them up and giving the land away as much as possible to underrepresented minorities, um, groups of people, generally speaking, that may have never had the opportunity or may have had some generational disparities that might have made it more difficult for their family to own land 100 years ago, 50 years ago, something like that. And so you take people out of these concrete jungles and you teach them the beauty of the permaculture design, the letting the land do what it does, but also high density farming, essentially creating enough for you to live on at least, and maybe a few people around you for those people who wanted to go to market and whatnot. But there's ways to partner, so you don't have to be all of the parts yourself. But the bottom line is taking folks who have maybe never had land in Compton or in frickin' Oakland or whatever, and putting them out in a different part of the not a different part of the country, but a different area where there's a little more space to breathe, and teaching them the right methods to help the land sustain itself, bring itself back to life. What you're doing is you're regreening the desert as you start to spread from LA up north a little bit. Think Lancaster, Pear Blossom, the Mojave Desert generally. You're also starting to revitalize land that has just been depleted, and and that gives a little bit of hope for the farmers who have been like, what the hell do I do? I've got all this land, I've got all this the mortgage maybe, or I've got these mouths to feed, and nobody's helping me out, and they need help. But you've got the urban population, people who have just never seen grass, which is ridiculous. It's not. I'm exaggerating a bit, but I mentioned the concrete jungle, and it's really that bad. I can't stand being in most of LA. There's a reason I'm over here in Corona. There's a reason why I want to stay on the outskirts when I move next. It's because I don't. It just depletes my life in that area, and a lot of people there don't even know that they're dealing with it because they've never known anything else. And you take it one step further. Rehabilitation, generally speaking, of the soul, whether it's someone who's a down and out OC person who had a business and it failed, and things have gone on, or someone who's homeless, or someone who has just never gotten to experience a different life than the 9 to 5 grind where you're always paycheck to paycheck and not even keeping up, or you know a migrant worker who came over and is literally just trying to send most of what they have back to Mexico or to Nicaragua or somewhere like that. All these prison populations, rehabilitating people. There's a way to do that if you offer a means to an end that is actually, that has an impact, that has beauty behind it, that has decency to it. I've got this idea spread over a few different voice memos and videos and you know notes, literally like my notes app. I've got the first iteration, second iteration, etc. I really would like to compile this, and in particular, now that I've got several different elements, I'd love to compile it into something that's presentable, easily digestible, and makes sense. And it's in alignment with the same idea that I had with the Lala group. It's in alignment with the same idea that I've had with what I'm talking about with Ayla. They all do. There is an overlap, a greater good to this, that's really, really critical. And this happens to be the one project that I have right now that has been sitting around on a shelf basically for like 5 years, since since we had Ayla, and things went. Actually, we only had Ayla 3.5 years ago, but it's been sitting on the shelf for about, well, pregnancy is before that. That's where it is. So about 4.5 years or so. That you know that's another approach to what's going on with the Ayla situation generally, where I'm like, look, what can I do? I can present this project. I can present this idea. Somehow, there's a way to get these ideas out, and I don't care if it's not about me. I don't care about that. I don't care if I get any glory for it. I don't care about making sure I don't screw up the patents so that someone, like, I feel like this is one of those weird karma things where I'm like, look, if this gets out into the world, good. People will know it's from me if it matters, and if I go starving and like I am now, maybe someone will care and notice that, hey, he's doing something worthwhile. Maybe we should support that. It was almost at the at the stage of being grant worthy before I put it on hold during when Adrian got pregnant. But I'd love to get this thing just polished. I mean, it's just so dang close, and it's such a big, beautiful, wonderful thing that is purely coming from a place of good. Obviously, there will need to be refinements, but it's a good idea that will help people, will help animals, that will help our American soil, will help our planet, climate change, all that kind of stuff. It doesn't hurt anyone, and it takes into account the cares, the sensibilities, I should say, of both the right wing and the left wing. It doesn't say our way is better and your way is stupid. There's a real beauty in this, and I would love to present that somewhere in a way that I can do it with my silly ADHD brain. This is about the best I've done ever describing it to you, and it's been about 8.5 minutes. So that's better than normal, but there's a lot more factors to it, and I'd really like it to be all inclusive. I'd like it to have some sort of visual element to it. My property has been partially that, and like I said, I've got a few other notes and videos around it. Not too many, but a few that, if compiled properly, or more likely redone, rewritten, and just properly done by someone who plans things, not me, someone who's better at that stuff, well, I think it'd be a really wonderful thing. I think it'd be a really, really wonderful thing. And if you can help me with that one, it serves the same purpose. It's putting something better out into the world. Yeah, Ayla is my number one issue. She's not an issue. She's a desire to have her in my life. That really matters to me. I'm not sure why it's not happening, but between, I figure if I at least do what I can to do good for the world, maybe God will answer my prayer. Maybe karma will pay me back a little nicer. Maybe at least somebody will be happier. Somebody will have a better day than not, and I'll at least be able to say, well, I'm doing the best that I can with what I've got. That's about as far as I can go with it. But these are two separate projects technically, but they're both so incredibly dear to my heart. this one is second to Ayla, but they're both incredibly dear to my heart, and I would really love to work with you on getting some of this story out, if that's at all possible. Um, yeah. I do have a third idea, and I'll send you that separately, because why not?